All right.
So yeah, every morning.
Really quick.
Just
Sorry,
come by.
tell us your name.
I'm Brandon.
Brandon.
I'm the manager. Nobody listens to me, but I am the boss. So every morning before it gets too hot, we got to take all these hoops off because even at like 65, 70 degrees, it can get well over 100 inside of there, which the plants don't like.
Okay.
Yeah, and then once it gets hotter, we've got vents down the center.
Okay.
We'll take off. You can see one of them's all messed up right there.
Right there.
So,
okay.
if you build these, make the plastic tight, or else the wind tears them up.
Okay. All right. So, how does the light depth situation work? Because we're in the morning, where you're just uncapping them, but obviously.
So right now the light cycle is not 12-12. We got more than 12 hours of daylight, so we don't have to worry about doing any light depth, and we want to veg them. You know, once our plants, say in a month and a half, get about this big, we'll start pulling black plastic. We've got it all. It's a muddy mess right now, and it smells like hell. But
rolls.
So all this plastic, come mid-June or whenever we want to start light depping, depending, and we do it in stages. So the harvest isn't the whole farm's not being harvested. We can span the harvest out over a month.
Right.
So we do about 4 rows at a time for light dep. But so here in a month and a half, every night we'll have 3 people come. It's 100-foot rolls of plastic. They're 18 feet wide. They're roughed with a pipe on the bottom so you can pull them over with a rope. And we light dep everything to where we're blacking it out. And then at 7 o'clock the next morning, we pull it off so it's on that 12-12 light cycle. That's the only way that our pot finishes. You know, if we didn't do that, our pot wouldn't be done until mid-October.
Right.
And it would be rotten and moldy by the time.
Right. So that's definitely how you combat the moisture in Western Washington.
Unless you got like some weird autoflower strain, you have to light dep them, or else you just don't get quality pot at all. You get a bunch of premature pot and moldy.
Right.
It's so late.
Yeah. So does space become an issue? Because I noticed these aren't, I mean, I've seen your plants during harvest when these are not on, and they're huge.
Last year our plants got a little crazy on us.
So you want to control that a little
like
bit?
Last year, some of them we didn't start light dep until they were this big. By the time they were done, there was buds literally 8 feet tall off.
Right, which doesn't really allow for any ventilation in there, huh?
No, and that's kind of part. Well, but okay, so once we start light depping, this clear plastic comes off.
Oh.
So once the weather warms up, and like maybe even in 2-3 weeks, once the nights are above 55, this plastic comes off.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're just pure sunlight.
And so then you're only using these for the light.
For the
depth.
Okay. Yep. This is the sole reason for the plastic right now is to keep the heat in at night.
Okay.
Keep the plants warm at night. That's the only reason why it's here.
Okay.
Yeah, come time to water every morning. It automatically comes on. We do 3 rows at a time. Each plant gets, I think this time of year we're only doing 1 gallon. We could be doing 2. I'm not really positive on the control of the water, but once our plants get going, it'll be watered every day, 2 gallons a day. One day will be fertilizer, the next day is just straight water, fertilizer, water. And we do change our fertilizers as the buds, get bigger and bigger. Like obviously right now we're using a vegetation fertilizer.
But you're
that's not my
able
specialty.
To control that from one place.
All we have to do is just
hit a button and these things are
We've
getting
got
fed and watered.
A fancy dosatron system that makes our life a lot easier.
Awesome.
Yeah, we were just talking when the camera cut out that the first year they watered by hand and it took 2 days to water the farm. Yeah, and then they would start watering it again and again and again, non-stop. Yeah.
Smoking on the hits, bagging up the flame. When the rest my oil, fresh another terpene. Push across the state, let them down, it's THC. Smoking on the hits, bagging up the flame. When the rest my oil, fresh another terpene. Push across the state, let them down, it's THC.
15 with that game toe. Skip school for that bankroll. Quit hoops for that flamethrower. When I'm getting dough, I'm a CEO. Elementary.
The dosatron room.
So this is our dosatron. We have 3 different systems. So if we want, we can set it up on the computer to 1 through 4 needs a certain thing. All we have to do is switch it to this guy, turn it on, put it in whatever vat we want, and we mix a concentrate of fertilizers in here, so it's like 1,000 times stronger than it should be.
Right.
And then it's an injecting system, so it's all water pressure. There's no electronics running this thing. It's all water pressure. And when it turns on, whoa! Let's turn off that one first. don't know if you'll be able to hear it. I don't know if I even turned it on right. But yeah, when it starts running, you'll hear it, and you can hear it. And you can adjust it to put it, like right now, it's at 1.5 parts per million.
Okay.
And that, you know, and you just figure out what solution you need, and you can adjust, like this one's at, you know, yeah, you just adjust them all, and pretty trick system. We don't have to do nothing except for mix
Saved
fertilizer.
you, like, were you here when they were hand watering?
Oh yeah, I
How many
witnessed it.
people were?
It was 2 guys all day long.
All day long.
2 days. It took 2 days.
2 days to do the
2
watering.
days to water the farm.
And 2 days, 2 men watering
Yep.
for 2 straight days
Yep.
to a push of a button.
Yep,
That's it.
basically.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And irrigation lines. And
Okay.
2 weeks of setting everything, but I mean,
Right. It paid itself
I
off.
wouldn't work here if I had to hand water the plants every day. Yeah, we'd have to train the dog to do it or something.
The dog.
Yeah.
Who's the dog? The
That's-
farm dog?
that's my dog. We just have all these irrigation boxes. There's a computer system that controls everybody. Every morning, 3 of these at a time will manually turn themselves on. Start dripping. And then we have, these are 2 gallon per hour drippers. They drip 2 gallons of water per hour. I think this time of year we're running them at an hour. We might only be running them for a half hour with the plants being so small. I'm not quite positive, but yep, that's what it's supposed to look like.
Cool. Pretty low maintenance system, huh?
Yeah, yep.
Cool.
It's gotta be, or else it just
Right.
turns into a mess. There's always mice in there, so every time you lift the lid, the mouse likes to eat the mice.
Yeah.
Is there any mice in there,
You
bud?
get the mouse?
No?
Get the mouse.
Go check the other one. Go check the other one. Yeah, what's up?
What are you doing in here? You're the brains of the operation that doesn't want to talk to me.
We're potting up.
Okay.
So these are clones.
Uh-huh.
They come in rock wool.
Okay.
They come.
And you're buying these clones from someone else, or are these?
Yes.
Okay.
So
sourcing.
we purchase these, and they come 6 to a block, and we break them up into, you know, so it takes 18 are going to go in a tray.
Okay.
So generally, I just break up the whole pile first and get them here, and you kind of have to like mold some of this and get rid of some of the extra material.
Okay.
Just so it's not like, the rock wool holds water very differently than this mix.
Okay.
So this is standard Sunshine number 4, and it's not the Pro mix, right? They have Sunshine 4 Pro, which is already charged. Meaning it's got a little bit of fertilizer in it.
Okay.
But and it has mycorrhizae in it. This, we added our own mycorrhizae.
Okay.
We didn't make the mycorrhizae, we bought a bag of mycorrhizae and mixed it in. Because this comes in a compressed bale. It
Okay.
has to be kind of broken up and fluffed up and loosened up.
Okay.
So as we're doing that, we get a couple inches in the bottom of this tote. We throw some mycorrhizae in there, we mix it up, break up some more soil. And this is not really, we call it soil. It's basically sphagnum and peat moss and perlite.
Okay.
So this is, we're helping this make the transition to a more soil-like material, building a bigger, stronger, larger root system before they go into the field. This is not truly a soil in the sense of like, it's not a native soil, it's not.
Okay.
But it does help build a bigger root system so that we can go out into the field.
Okay.
So all I really do is get this adder about, you know, like halfway full, right? You can see, so we want to leave some room at the bottom for these roots to grow down.
Okay.
So we want this to sit in there about like that. And the end result is going to be about 1/4 to 1/3 of the rock wool exposed.
Okay.
So we're lifting that up. So we've got room at the bottom, and then we've got a little bit of room this way. You know, if you used, they sell this material in shorter pieces. And this probably gives whoever produces these for us a little bit better opportunity, right? They can get more of the stem in
Okay.
here.
Okay.
And this will hold the water a little bit, so they won't have to water twice a day. That's
Okay.
probably what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Right. So we get this, and then it just goes in, and we just kind of fill in around it. And you got to be a little bit gentle about how much you can pack this. You could really press this material down in there, and because this is like almost entirely organic matter other than the little bit of perlite. Perlite is all about adding some aeration so just the roots can breathe, right? They need oxygen and water. But this material without the perlite just holds a ton of water. And you could easily drown your plant. So they add the perlite, and we still want to be a little bit careful about how much we tamp it, right? So I just get it in there full, and I give it a couple little taps. If you were to, so
you're not packing, you're just tapping.
Yeah, because you can see right now, if I was to take this and keep going like this, how much more I could get in here. And you could get this really tight, which is pretty undesirable. Once this all fills up with water and expands, there's no space left for the oxygen. So the roots have to be able to breathe. Yeah, see that's a lot of dirt. And then they go in here, and they're gonna sit in here for between 7 and 14 days is what we've kind of determined to be our butter zone. That's the sweet spot. So
7 to 14 days in here, and then they're hardy enough to go outside.
And
how much are they just misted in here lightly, or do you do pretty good watering?
So when they go in here, I tell you what, we can go to this end.
How you doing?
Good.
See you. Good.
So this has been in here, let's see, what's today, Friday, Wednesday. This was potted up. And we'll see what we have. So
just popping through.
We've already got a few roots popping out here. So this is like less than 72 hours.
Yeah.
And we're already getting, and you can also see that it's damp at the bottom.
Yeah.
Right? So now this won't need water until sometime tomorrow, but it's a small amount of, it'll hold a lot of water, but it is a small amount of soil. It'll dry out fairly quickly. And then this is not so much a nursery operation as an I-502, because everything has to have a tag.
Yeah.
Right? So this is kind of industry specific. Because it has to have a tag, and we want to put this tag on, as early as possible in our process. So when we're potting it up, we tag it immediately.
And that's staying with the plant through the
That'll
life.
stay with the plant throughout its life cycle. And
so let's see, date of birth, the strain, and then this is the Washington I-502, essentially barcode for that plant. So it's tracked seed to sale by that right there.
And so for us, you'll notice all these tags, right? We want to keep them tucked in so they don't get caught on anything. People moving around with hoses and long sleeves, whatever happens, you can grab that. You can kill a clone almost instantly by breaking it
yanking
down.
On that tag.
And we also want to leave as many as we can on the outside so you can quickly go through and see what strain you're dealing with. In here, we try to keep like strains with like strains, so when we go out there, it's easier. We know right where we're going, we grab our trays, we move them out.
So speaking of strains, did you guys bring anything in different this year?
You know what? I'm going to let Kyle talk strains. Kyle's the
Can we talk strains?
Sales, marketing. He's tagging up. He's got some stuff that's actually in a different medium from a different clone house.
Okay. And are there positives or negatives, or is it just different?
So anything that's different probably has some positives and negatives, right? So this is Fruit Loop OG. This is in cocoa.
Okay. So they came this way?
Yes. These came to us just like this instead of the rock wool, and they cloned right into this cocoa. And so these are, I don't know, the cocoa is not my favorite medium.
Okay.
This is a lot of folks who are used to growing indoors in what we call a soilless medium.
Okay.
You need something to actually hold the roots.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there is hydro, where you just go into a bigger rock wool cube.
Yeah.
And then you've got, nutrient films and aeroponics and all those like true hydros. This is more of a soilless, where you have this or various other materials that are inert in and of themselves. The cocoa doesn't have anything as far as food for the plant.
Okay.
Everything has to be
It's more
added.
of just like a stable environment.
It's really something to hold the roots.
Okay.
So you can clone into it because you want to hold that moisture and create a humidity envelope around the roots. But
Yeah.
beyond that, the cocoa's not providing much of anything.
Okay.
So these either have to go in the ground or get potted up pretty
Yeah.
quick. There's,
They're not getting any food or anything out of it.
yeah, so
Okay.
there's, now we can feed it, we can fertilize it here, and you could grow this plant out, but it's a little different.
So these ones, do you know how long they'll be in here before they go out?
Some of these will actually go out this afternoon,
Okay.
and the rest of them will probably go out Monday.
So this is big enough to handle, since you guys are covered out there in outdoor environment. right
Yes.
Into the soil.
And so that first one had quite a few roots. This one's got significantly less roots,
Uh-huh.
right? Which is the other thing that giving it some time in a pot lets us bring things closer to consistency.
Okay.
And the option here is try to fit this into a 4-inch pot, so which doesn't work great.
Yeah. Okay.
Could be done, but it's not optimal.
Okay.
So we'll probably just send them out. All right, I'll let you have Kyle.
Okay. So we're talking about your strains.
Yeah.
Changes from last year.
Absolutely.
additions, all that.
Yeah, so we definitely brought back a couple of the old strains that did well last year, like the Sunset Sugar, the White Grape, and the XJ13. They did really well, produced heavily, and the overall terpene profile was really picked up on by the customers. But after some research into the market where consumers are really looking to buy their strains, we saw that there was a larger demand for extensive search genetics. So wedding cake, the gelato 33, the lemon meringue, some of those really big names we paid extra bucks for the clones, right? And we're hoping that it looks good enough and we can trim it well enough that we'll be able to get a little bit more money for our product. So we're bringing in, like I said, wedding cake. We were bringing Acapulco Gold back. It produced really well. Super great plant. But we're trying Sunset Sherbet. We're bringing on Poontang Pie. Got some Fruit Loop OG. Pure Purple. Got some Strawberry Banana. Bringing back Pineapple Express. Everybody loved Pineapple Express.
That Acapulco Gold and that Pineapple Express are kind of...
Those names will not...
they
I
won't
don't
die,
think
right?
Yeah, exactly. And they blast really well, so it's just all around it's a great plant to have.
Yeah.
And then we're bringing on some lemon meringue, some double OG, so OG goes crossed with itself, looks super great, and then some Ganny Skunk.
Okay.
We're really stoked about the plant. So really nice even distribution of indicas, sativas, and hybrids, and just trying to make sure that every area gets covered for the consumer base. Everybody's happy.
Yeah. And so, do you have strains that you're more specifically growing for oil and ones that you're more specifically growing for flower, or do you just take different sections of the plant for that?
At the current moment, we try to grow the whole plant, assuming that we're going to get nothing but flower out of it. So we don't specifically search out strains that are going to be specific to blast, because blast doesn't really generate the amount of profits that you would get for a full flower, right? So most of the time, we assume that everything's going to be flower, and then whatever happens to mold or looks a little less attractive for the consumer, we'll definitely throw it to blast. But we just assume that we're going to get 100% flower yield off of it. So
it's a good way to approach it.
Oh yeah.
All right, I'm here with Nicole at C4 Farms. She's essentially their project manager. Nicole's going to give us an overview of the software that she's using to really streamline efficiencies and keep people accountable. and make everything work here. Tell us what you got here, Nicole.
So this is our planning Gantt chart. So we have 2 different Gantt charts because we kind of have 2 different processes. We get the plants in the ground and then we wait a while and then we harvest them. So we have a lot of prep that we have to do before we can even go in the rows. And so what we've done is we've spelled all of that out, from fixing the zip ties and fixing our hoop house plastic, aligning the hoop houses, mule tape, end caps, strip lines, all of that really good stuff. And then what I do is I can assign somebody. So I have Brando as the first person. He's the most accountable. So he has his team, which is Jeremy, sometimes Kyle, and they can go out together, but ultimately Brandon's the one at the end of the day that's accountable for his helpers, I suppose you could say. So then we go through, and as stuff is completed, I don't know if you can tell, there's different colors, so that means we're partway done with getting it prepped. So this needs to be updated. We're at the end of the week. So we've got everything done, everything's stringed up except for 4 rows at the end of the farm. We've got everything, some stuff planted, rows 1 through 11, so it can definitely be filled in, which is semi-rewarding for me. I like the color change.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody else does though. They don't really
You're like,
care.
yes, they got done.
I'm like, oh, now it's dark orange. Nobody else cares, probably except me. So then we go through and we have kind of our planting phases. So we thought we were going to plant a little bit differently, but actually we're about on 1,710 plants was our first round, and that's about what we've got planted this week. We did receive some additional clones that we felt like they could go right in the ground, so we're going to move it up. And as we're moving that up and planting, it just means now I know I need more humans here so we can keep going. So it's been really great as a planning tool and managing what resources we need. So we keep going through planting, and then after planting we have jobs. We have to put down our ground cover to keep those roots warm and keep the real weeds away, I guess.
Yeah.
And then we put netting on, and then we have to go fix our light depth plastic. So we do that all in a row, and once we're done with this, we hang out for like a month.
Like maintaining, huh?
Yeah,
Just maintaining
yeah. And then we start a new one, and we kick off with orientation, and we go from there.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. All right, Shannon, one of the things I want to go into a little more detail with, because it's so unique, is your process for light dep and why it is you do that. So you're able to grow a better quality, right?
Yep.
And you're able to combat Mother Nature a little better.
Right.
So explain that process a little bit.
Like as far as combating Mother Nature, here in Western Washington, it starts raining early.
Uh-huh.
If we were to naturally let these plants finish, most strains are going to go into October, even November. Years ago I've had strains that went into December naturally, you know, so it's impossible. They're going to get rained on and mold, and there's not sun to grow good bud, obviously, in November around here. The guys in Eastern Washington can definitely do full term. They have way more sun, way less rain and stuff, right? So that's a huge reason, you know, being able to get the quality. We're flowering in the middle of the summer with the good sunlight and everything. Yeah. And avoiding that fall rain.
Yeah, okay. So you start the light dep process when the plants have come up to your standard in veg, correct?
Right, which the determination would be filling out the space.
Okay.
You know,
so you don't want to overfill that. You don't want it to.
Yeah, you want to get the optimum you can. You know, we're limited to a 30,000 square foot canopy also, so you know we got to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So basically, as soon as it fills out the area inside of our hoops, that's when we light them, and we got to take into consideration the stretch.
Okay.
When you put them into flower, you know, too. So you got to time it kind of right to where you don't go way outside. But yeah.
Okay. So you're expecting that in June, is that correct? Middle of June?
Yeah, and that's all Mother Nature dependent.
Okay.
2 years ago, we had a beautiful block like we have this week to plant in, and we only had to veg for 4 weeks.
Wow.
Last year, we had to veg for 6 weeks. We didn't have the weather. So it's, you know, so I'm hoping that we get that. We'll able to veg everything in 4 weeks like we did 2 years ago with that super hot year we had.
Yeah. So you would throw them into flour, and then what's that process look like? How many weeks typically? I mean, obviously it depends.
The strains that we're running out here, the first ones are like 6 weeks, 2 days. We start harvesting.
Okay.
After we start light depping, that's the earliest, and then probably the longest flowering period is around 8 weeks. Well, and we're growing quite a few new strains that we don't have data on this year. So, you know, one thing is for some reason the dynamic out here seems to finish the strains a week earlier than anybody advertises them. You know, if they say it's a 8-week flower, we finish it in 7 weeks every time for some reason, whatever it is. It happens a little quicker out here.
That's cool.
It's our good vibes, I think.
It's your good vibes. Yeah, it's the crew. I love it. The dog. It's the dog, Mud, right?
Yeah.
Out there hunting all the mice. All right. So we're going to be coming back for your harvest season this year. And obviously getting some great footage. We're going to try and get some images of the stages of your plants. And as far as your harvest crew, what are you expecting in terms of numbers this year?
I think we're going to try to get 25.
Okay, cool.
And I think we got 10 or 12 of those guys returning from last year. So.
Awesome. Cool. Great group.
Yeah,
Excited
amazing.
to be here with them.
Yeah.
Cool. And then you mentioned that you are going to be focused on a little more hand trimming this year for some more craft. Are you doing that wet or dry?
We'll do that dry.
Dry. Okay. So you'll have one container dedicated to drying. Is that correct? Or
we're not sure exactly.
Shannon, thank you so much for having us out. We'll be back.
Thanks for coming. We love having you guys out always.
Cool. And our viewers love to watch your farm grow. So.
Yeah? Cool.